Roundtable back for the final remarks for this year's Devo Central. Thanks for sticking around the whole time for the whole 3 hours. We really hope you had a lot of good insights on what's happening at Devolutions and regarding our products. Right before we start, gentlemen, we have a question regarding the gateway that I would like to ask Mark regarding the scalability of Gateway. How well does Devolutions Gateway scale? Would it work for approximately 40,000 concurrent users?
Well, that's a big number, but I like challenges. Devotions Gateway is extremely scalable. It's written in pure Rust, and we've been very, very prudent in our approach and how we make recommendations for the resources you need. But it's extremely good at doing what it does, much more than other products of the same type. So I'd be very curious to know how far you can go with 40,000 concurrent connections. It will mostly depend on the type of protocol you're using and the usage of the protocol. So if you open, for instance, 100 concurrent RDP connections, but you're just like going through one of them at a time and they have very low activity in the session, you can actually scale a lot more because you won't be there with 100 sessions doing like video playback, something like that. To scale up to that number, you will obviously need a large number of Devotions Gateway servers. But the good news is it is extremely easy to load balance Devotions Gateway. So I would recommend going with Devotion Server and build Devotions Gateway farms. So we have some customers that built, I think, up to 17, 20 gateways in one farm. But this was for a much smaller deployment. But still, it's made to be scalable horizontally. So if you need more, you just add more. That's it. And it also does the health checks with the gateway. So if one of them goes down, it will stop sending new connections to that gateway. And if you need to service some of these gateways, you can also enable a drain mode such that it will stop receiving connections. And then you can disconnect it to do updates and other things like that. And as I mentioned at the end of the previous presentation, Devotions Gateways evolved from what we have done with Wake, the old product which we terminated a few years back. But back then, the existing core Devotions Gateway was used in production for a very large number of concurrent connections across the globe. So it's battle tested.
Yeah, and I think the specs we put, they're really conservative because they're worst case scenarios. People are asking us, do I need a huge server? Well, it does run on a poor server. And I think we tested ourselves at 75, but a customer was reporting he's running on 125 concurrent sessions. So depending on, as Mark says, as what you do with it, are you running web sessions? Are you playing videos? It's quite hugely different the way you use it, that the impact that it has on its performance. But still, we're always amazed at the performance.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, since we're not running FreeRDP inside the server or inside the gateway, it's much lighter than Guacamole.
Exactly. This is a good point David makes, is that for other products, since they do heavyweight decoding and encoding in the proxy, which is more a re-encoder, scalability goes down the drain instantly. You don't want to do like 100 concurrent RDP sessions that decode remote effects, for instance, and re-encode it in different codec to send to the browser. This will max out your CPU quite fast. In our case, we're doing just a transport bridge. So think of it more like an HA proxy or Nginx, more than Guacamole. So scalability is much, much, much higher with this kind of architecture.
To mention, the original name was Devolution Jet.
Yeah.
And that was the name of the component in Wake.
Yeah, super fast.
So a question from a very long-time customer, John Kinney. Would I be able to deploy the Gateway standalone app in a container yet? Also, is a Linux version available?
There is a Linux version available. We're kind of catching up on docs and packaging, things like that. It's not even like on the website, but if you go on the GitHub page of the Devotions Gateway, it is there. We'll come back to it, but yes, it is there, but we need to improve our packaging. In terms of the container, we've had it at some point, but it needs a little bit of love before you can use it again, but we're fixing that now.
We have another question regarding the if we're going to provide a formal training and certification roadmap for the upcoming year. Mario wants to have a good reason to come here to Montreal. First of all, you're always welcome to the office. We even have room spaces across the street right here if you want. Joke aside, if you really want to come in Canada and visit the headquarters, we'll be more than happy to welcome you. We have rooms to stay for a couple of days here at Devolutions. But to answer your question, Mario, we do have a program. The Devotion Academy is going to be launched somewhere in August, September this year with learning path or certification path as well. It's going to be remote first with live webinars, live sessions through the platform. So it's not gonna be in person yet, but we do intend to showcase and launch the Devo Academy later on this year, exactly for that purpose, to help you guys get the most of the product, train your users, and as well as to have a certification path. I have another question here for DevOS Teams license used to include one gateway installation on the same host. If I wanted to run it on a different host, I would need a separate license. Is this still the case? Asking for my company. Is this still the case, or can you?
I don't even know what it is today, but the plan was for the license to be movable.
From the
and that five
concurrent users.
Yeah, but with the free edition, so it's a bit unclear to me now.
Yeah, it's okay. I will. We're planning to change the license model for Gateway to move from per site to per user to simplify everything.
Yeah.
So when you buy a VPN, usually it's not per deployment; it's really per user. So we think that if we could align all our licenses, RDM, the client access license, launcher, the PAM, if you need the PAM module, and of course, Gateway, it will simplify everything. So if you have a lot of deployment, the only trouble you get is to maintain. So through our update scripts, we will simplify that. But for the usage, it will be much easier. If you have 5 users, you pay for your 5 users, exactly like the model. That's why there's a kind of bit of, not confusion, but I see in your face that, okay, that's a tricky question. If it's something that you want right now, call the sales, and it's just that we have to put in place the system to manage that, the license. But that's where we're heading. Our goal is to make sure that it's easy to deploy, affordable, and we strongly believe in that technology. And we know that eventually everybody will require a gateway, and we want to make sure that it's simple to deploy, not a high-end solution in terms of price, but in terms of technology, we're comfortable with that.
And can you use the gateway free version within the server free version?
You mean the standalone?
Standalone, yeah.
No, it's not possible. The standalone is really a competition, a direct competition to Guacamole, which is open source. But you need to leverage
the infrastructure.
The infrastructure. Marc-André could explain why, but it's also because of the security that you didn't have in the standalone.
The standalone, as the name says, is standalone. It actually means something in the sense that it's not managed through Devotion Server, Devotion Hub. So it's really a standalone product outside of the rest. But
no database.
Exactly.
No.
The moment you need more features, you're expected to go to Devotion Server, Devotion Hub, and maybe Remote Desktop Manager, or the web clients that come with Devotion Server, Devotion Hub. So it's a separate product that's meant to be free and direct competition to Apache Guacamole.
Exactly.
Awesome. We did ask the community for a couple of questions prior to the event, and we received a couple of them. The first one, key targets and focus for 2024. You mentioned PAM, Gateway, RDM. Maybe David or Maurice want to start off with what's the key focus for this year at the high level perspective for the product roadmap?
Productive PAM, I think, is the key.
I like that.
Productive PAM. So not only our own, we work with CyberArk, Beyond Trust, Delinea, Manage Engine. I talked yesterday, in fact. We have, did we say it? Ping. Yeah, Ping.
Yeah, we said
Ping, Safeguard. So we want to make RDM the best PAM client there is. In fact, what I like is that we want to make IT professionals forget there's a PAM behind the scenes, and that's what we can achieve with RDM. So that's productive PAM is really the buzzword for this year, but still it trickles down and percolates in all of our products.
You mentioned this morning when we were talking, a customer who got the requirement to use CyberArk.
Yep.
But the struggle is I still be efficient
Yeah, because
a highly secured solution.
yeah, it's imposed by the head office, and the poor IT professionals are there. They're used to using PuTTY and RDP, direct connection, bypassing any firewall. They're direct connection, and they've been told we're putting on the firewall in the next month. So they're struggling, and it's panic that you can see in their eyes. I say we have a solution for that. So you put RDM in front, and they will forget that CyberArk is behind the scenes. It's so easy. So the struggle is real when you look at productivity, and that's the name of the game. You need to handle 1,000 assets over a week, and you don't want to lose a minute or two every time.
Question from the audience. We're currently using RDM version 2023 and have approximately 100 users. How can we restrict RDP access in the environment and allow only RDM app for RDP use? We had this discussion last week, right?
It comes back every quarter, but it's been ongoing for the longest time.
I can answer that one.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have customers that they want to enable RDP, but only from RDM. Maybe the best answer I can give is look into Windows Defender application control and put rules that prevent MSTSC from being launched from any other process than remote desktop manager.exe. There are different ways you could look into putting in rules into your application control engine, depending on the one you're using, that would probably filter out anything which isn't from RDM. So even if we launch MSTSC, there are certain differences in the way we launch it that could make it possible for you to filter it properly.
It could be a good blog, by the way.
Yeah, that's actually true. Another question we received earlier this month. What would you say, maybe Maurice, what would be the main differentiator? You mentioned it earlier a little bit about our PAM solution and what you see on the market and what Devolution does in terms of productivity, but what would be the main differentiators between what we offer and what's there on the market?
Our goal, and I think it started like 5 years ago, isn't it? You had studies made and surveys, and people wanted something that was robust, affordable,
Yep.
and easy to deploy.
Yep.
And we see the big players out there, it takes months, a proof of concept, and they've onboarded a few accounts. There are so many pain points. It takes forever. And if you do not make your technicians' lives easier, they will try to find a way around your system. So we wanted something easy. If you look at our UI, it's simple. It's lightweight. If you want to look at our checkout workflows, well, it's in RDM. You don't go into a web portal. It's one tool, one job, and
Fully integrated.
Fully integrated. So RDM looks like a productivity tool, and in all the sense it is.
It is.
But behind the scenes, we have so many layers of cybersecurity that we're fooling the CISO and we're fooling the IT professional. They think, one that thinks about productivity,
filling the
and
gap.
CISO, I have logs, alerts, notifications. So everyone's happy. So, but that's our goal. But for sure, the short answer is easy to deploy.
We have a question from the live audience. Which providers are you looking to support natively in 2024? We mentioned CyberArk earlier. We have capabilities with Beyond Trust and Delinea. Are we looking at onboarding other providers? Maybe you can...
For identity providers or for PAM itself? Because
For PAM providers.
Yeah, because cyber safeguard, ping safeguard.
The key point is make sure that if you have a PAM that we don't support, open the gate, because if we have to do the integration on our own, it's a nightmare. Because they think that we're spying on them. We're not even able to download the trial because they block our own
Domain.
email. Yeah. So make sure to open the channel. And if we get their software engineer to work with us, it's so much easier. I don't remember. We got an email from a guy from a PAM solution. He wants to work with us. It's strange because we are kind of what I'm always mentioning that we are we come as a competitor and as at the same time integrator.
Yep.
So they might be afraid of us, but we try to stay a neutral player. If you're happy with your PAM solution, or just because you are used to, we're okay with that. If we can leverage the integration with most desktop manager, but most of our problems are coming when we stop getting support from the third party.
And RDM makes your lives easier. So for sure, if there's a pain point in that PAM product, the more we can improve it, the more value there is for the whole community. And some PAM solutions, we have a credential entry. That's it. That's all, because that's the extent of what we can do. But for others, we really can manage everything. So for sure, keep the requests coming. But sometimes you need to be our intermediate in talking to the providers that to make our lives easier.
Regarding a question from the live audience regarding Devolutions Gateway, could there be an in-band firewall there controlling where the gateway can pivot to rather than an out-of-band firewall?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I answer based on what I understood. In terms of firewall rules, because all the connections are made to the gateway before pivoting to a different machine behind the gateway, my recommendation is that for the machine to connect to, you change your firewall rules to only accept connections coming from the gateway hosts. So for instance, if you want to prevent direct RDP access to machines, but in cases where you could have direct access to the machines, but you want to enforce it to go through the gateway, change your firewall rules. Block RDP 3389 from all of those machines except the Devotions gateway, the machines running Devotions gateway. And then in terms of restricting where the gateway can connect to, well, just use firewall rules again. Just restrict at the operating system level on that machine where the gateway runs, where it could connect to, if you want to limit its potential access.
Another question, but did you know Checkpoint categorize your CDN and doc site as high risk? Maybe you could work with them to correct this with Checkpoint. Might want to look at that. Other question regarding the session recording capabilities. Maybe Mark or Maurice, but how do we handle session recording along with the server, gateway, RDM? Do we have plans to do session recording from RDM within the infrastructure, or?
Well, the current way session recording works is it's actually RDM doing the recording client side and streaming the video or the recording to
Streaming live
to Devotions Gateway. So it's not after the fact, it's as it happens. And Devotions Gateway basically just acts as a recording server by collecting the files for the session recording. And then when you play them back, for instance, from Devotion server, it just redirects you to a special link from Devotions Gateway that hosts the file for the session in question.
Yeah, our old recording server, I think, is still deployed. The bits are still deployed, but
it's been deprecated for a while.
It's deprecated. But for now, it's client-based recording streamed to the gateway.
We also have in Remote Desktop Manager the client-side recording, which is more to show what you did and not to prove that it's secure or for unattended access. So I know that in our support team, sometimes they record just to, you will be able to see that what I did. Yeah. So this is the client-side recording in RDM if you're not using Devotion Server or Hub with the gateway. So I think maybe people are talking about more the proxy-based recording.
Maybe proxy-based, but just a quick... The previous recording server had scalability issues, which we fixed by moving the recording server inside Devotions Gateway. Mostly because the recording is done client-side being streamed to Devotions Gateway. The gateway itself does not do video encoding. It just receives a file and writes it to the disk. So it's much more scalable than the previous solution. But you have specific feature requests about like session recording in general, please don't hesitate to make feature requests on the forum, and we'll definitely look into it and how we can improve it.
Another question from the audience. What about additional user providers or identity providers, I should say, that be natively supported in 2024?
For Devolution server, we are waiting for your input because we created the Ping One just this release based on user input. We had Okta, now Ping One. What else would you like?
Yeah, feel free to share it in the live chat or on the forum again.
You have a high influence on our roadmap. We are really not customer, but user-driven.
Yeah, user-driven, exactly, yeah. That's a bit different. Let me check in the different tabs. If not, we have another question on, can you develop a bit more on how the different products can integrate and connect together in terms of the complete ecosystem?
Yeah, everything starts with Remote Desktop Manager. So if we describe a little bit our different clients, it will give you a nice overview. You have the top one is Remote Desktop Manager to open any type of connection, but you can leverage the PAM with Remote Desktop Manager. You can leverage also Gateway with Remote Desktop Manager in a native way. And after that, you have Launcher, which is a little bit different because it's only for a kind of help desk simplify version of Remote Desktop Manager. So no IT related management tools. So it's okay, but it's limited in term. You can't edit, you can't delete anything. So it's really the open connection, highly focused. And after that, you have Workspace. Workspace could be for now it's a high level password management or password manager tool, which is again a simplified version of Remote Desktop Manager. So if you only need the web browser extension and you only need to autofill website from Devotion server or from Hub, which could be Hub Personal or Hub Business, Workspace is a nice tool. So if speaking for myself, I use both. If I need remote connection, I like Remote Desktop Manager. But for example, the authenticator part, I use Workspace. Much more simplified view. I only see my OTP, and it's not mixed with all the noise of remote connection, which I need when I put the hat of the IT manager. So in a nutshell, this gives you how everything interact and why everything is linked. And the nice thing, one great feature that we have with the PAM, from my point of view, is in our case, it's a journey. You start with Remote Desktop Manager, you improve your productivity, you deploy it to your team, you improve your productivity, the productivity of your team just by vaulting everything. And one privilege account at the time, you move it to the PAM. So it's not the case for high-end solutions like CyberArk. It's a go or no go. In our case, you can get early benefits from vaulting and moving forward. And as we get better at integrating all the different solutions, we also get better at improving the workflow. So for me, it's really the path to the PAM is really simplified by the way we are tackled down the problem.
Awesome. We have a few minutes left. Maybe a closing remark from you guys. 2024 is going to be a pretty huge year at Devolutions in terms of products development. A lot of great milestones are going to be hit this year in terms of productivity, security, PAM. Maybe if I start with Maurice, what are you the most excited about for this year's roadmap in terms of product development?
Oh, it's so hard to put things aside. That's where we have a ton of ideas, but it's what we leave for the next years. So again, we're improving the baby steps we took last year. So improving SSH, improving the gateway is such a game changer in the PAM workflows. Having the console going through the gateway, it's just amazing what we can achieve in the future. We have so many ideas, but now 2024.2 and .3, potentially you have your say in it, we can really mature features into something that we are proud to say, okay, here's our PAM, and then we will need you to bring us to the next step.
Mark?
Yes, if I can continue on it, Maurice mentioned PAM and gateway. You can actually do password resets, PAM password reset flows through Devotions Gateway. We're going to expand on this kind of integration between PAM and gateway. Other than that, what I'm truly excited about is having a first version Devotion server for Linux and expanding on the features with gateway and all the rest.
Yeah.
Final thoughts from David?
We have so many brilliant people at Devolutions, people that 14 years ago I was not even able to dream. So we have people like Marc-André, like Paul, like Richard, you might have seen, and I forget a lot of people. Those people are enablers. They can push forward what we already have, and it's an amazing journey for all of us at Devolutions. So I hope you enjoy what we have what we have now, and I hope you will enjoy what we will bring this year and maybe next year. I'm not excited by the downturn because we know a lot of layoff are coming or happen already. But in terms of technology, it's a good opportunity to make something that really worth it. And we believe in productivity at the same time of security. So for us, this forces us to think how we can give as many return on the value that we give you with our product, because we want to keep the pace and keep the productivity at the same time to go through the downturn, the potential downturn economy.
Maybe one final question from the audience. Is there a Devolutions product compliance map that maps the products to requirements and standards like ISO 27001, SOC 2, I Trust?
No, and in fact, it was one of the features we had on the board, like to have our reports would have give me my ISO 27001 reports and so on. We have the basic capabilities, but we could put a layer icing on top to make it easier for that compliance requirement.
If you have any suggestions on the forum that could help us craft those reports.
Yeah.
The best resources we have is on the Conveyor app. Mark just posted it in the chat, so feel free to get on that page. And there's a lot of information from our security team on that page. And also access our SOC 2 report if you want to apply for it and all that stuff. Okay. I believe that's a wrap for this year's edition of Devo Central. I'd like to give a big shout out to the team, Laurence, Yann, Miriam, Isabelle, Jenny. So thanks for joining us. And that's a wrap for this year, Devo Central.